I built the best movies of the year in LEGO, and we'll be starting off with my favorite movie of the year, Top Gun Maverick. Specifically, it'll be based on the F-14 Tomcat from the end of the movie. But the first thing we have to do is make the figures, which will of course be Maverick and Rooster. Starting off with Maverick, he's wearing his iconic aviator sunglasses and has a confident grin on his face. He's also wearing his olive green flight suit with all of his personalized badges and tags. And lastly, I gave him dual molded legs to show his dark brown boots. Next is Rooster. He uses the dog trainer hairpiece in Nougat, and he has an annoyed facial expression, as well as a mustache. His flight suit is similar to Maverick's, although he obviously has different tags and badges, and he also has some more equipment on his torso and legs. Now that the figures are done, it's time to move on to the build, the F-14 Tomcat fighter jet. Building this thing was a definite challenge because I've never built anything like it before, but in the end, I was very happy with how it turned out. After the build was complete, all that was left to do was to make some custom printed tiles and render the images, so let's take a look at those now. The most important thing to get right with the plane was the front, because that's where the nose is, and that's where the cockpit is where the figures go. And to get this area right, I had to test out a bunch of different slope combinations. The plane has a wingspan of just under 40 studs wide, and as you can see, it has a color palette of mostly light gray with some dark gray and black accents. The plane is a two-seater, and on the inside of the cockpit are two seats, as well as a bunch of different controls, and then on the back of the plane you can see some engines. Finally, here we have the box art, which I've made in the 18+ box art style. And before any of you guys ask, unfortunately, LEGO Ideas doesn't accept submissions based off of Top Gun. Not really sure why that is, especially since they just released a fighter plane set. Now, regardless of the discrepancy between what LEGO says the rules are and what they actually seem to be, this next set is going to be the biggest one in the video. However, it's not quite finished, so in the meantime, let's do a rapid fire round with a bunch of different figures from a bunch of different movies. So let's start off with everyone's favorite fearless hero, Puss in Boots. The first thing I did for him was design a custom torso and head, and then I added those to mecha bricks, and after that, I gave him his cape, as well as his famous hat, feather, and of course, the boots. So here's the figure all rendered up, and a couple more details I'd like to mention are his green eyes, his giant smile, and his accessory, which is his sword. Now let's take a look at a figure from a movie that is the complete tonal opposite of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, that being All Quiet on the Western Front. The figure that I decided to make from this movie is the main soldier of the movie, Paul. He's wearing a German military uniform, as well as dark brown boots, a backpack, and a helmet. His face is all beaten up and worried, and his uniform is green, with an olive green torso and dark green legs. Taking a closer look at the prints, you can see that he has a bunch of different pockets, buttons, straps, and belts on his torso, as well as some red detailing on his torso and on his arms. Then you can also see on the cuffs of his arms are some buttons, and his accessory is a brown gun. All Quiet was one of my favorite movies of the past year, and I definitely think that most of its awards were well deserved. However, a film that I definitely think could have been a serious competitor for Best International Film, but for whatever reason wasn't even nominated, is RRR. Although RRR didn't win Best International Film, they did win Best Original Song, so because of this, I've decided to make figures of Raju and Beam from the Natu Natu scene. The first thing I did was design upbeat, expressive, and most importantly, bearded facial expressions for the two of them. After that, I designed both of their torsos, both of which have specialized button-up shirts, as well as suspenders. They have dual molded arms to show their rolled-up sleeves, and they're also both wearing pants and dark nougat shoes. As far as differences go, obviously their faces are different to best represent the likeness of the respective actors, but they also have different hair pieces and differences in their outfits. If you haven't yet seen RRR, I highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys over-the-top action movies with awesome fight scenes. And speaking of which, the next figures are based on the movie Bullet Train. First off is the main character of the movie, Ladybug, played by Brad Pitt. He's got a slightly overconfident facial expression and is wearing a green tracksuit as well as white shoes. He has dark tan hair and rolled up sleeves, and he's wearing a watch on his left arm. And finally, his accessory is a briefcase. Next is Tangerine. He's got a smiling facial expression with a mustache and some facial hair, and he's wearing a dark blue outfit with some stripes as well as a light blue button-up shirt underneath, which may or may not have some blood on the collar. He uses the Starlit CMF hairpiece in dark brown, and he has rolled up sleeves. And finally, he's wearing black shoes. I'd originally only planned to make these two figures, but I really enjoyed doing them, so I may or may not be doing a full-on set on Bullet Train in the future. Let me know if that's something y'all be interested in. In the meantime, I still wanted to build a little something extra, so I decided to build the kitchen where Ladybug and Tangerine fight. There's not a ton to it. As you can see, it's just a wall with a bunch of cabinets, some snacks, some cups, some sushi, a knife, and a small snack cart. The snack cart is definitely my favorite part because of the exclusive print and because Ladybug and Tangerine can throw it at each other. Anyway, rounding off the rapid fire round, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of figures from Glass Onion. So I designed the figures, put them into Blender, and got to rendering. Of course, first off is Benoit Blanc, since he's the main character of the movie, and his hairpiece is the Commissioner Gordon hairpiece in dark tan, and for his face, I just used the official James Bond face for reference. His outfit is a tan suit with pockets and a light blue shirt underneath, and he's wearing dark nougat shoes. The other figure from this movie is Helen, disguised as Andy, and she's wearing a black dress with tan and white sections, as well as a golden buckle. She's also wearing tan sandals, and she has a tan hairpiece and a bun, and finally, she has a quizzical facial expression. Now, we're finally going to take a look at the last set in the video, and as most of you probably already guessed, it's based off of Everything Everywhere All at Once, the most awarded movie of all time. So let's just get started with the figures, the first of which, of course, being Evelyn. As you can see, she has a long black hairpiece, as well as a smiling facial expression with some cuts, as well as a googly eye on her forehead. She's wearing a light purple button-up shirt with some flowers on it, as well as a dark red vest over it, and she's wearing purple pants, as well as dark red shoes. And finally, her alternate facial expression is scared. Next is Waymond. He uses the Harry Potter hairpiece in black, and he has a smiling facial expression with glasses, as well as an alternate facial expression which is much more serious. He's wearing a dark green collared shirt with some white and light green stripes, as well as a pocket on the left hand side, and he's also wearing white shoes and some tan pants, and finally his accessory is a fanny pack that he can use as a weapon. We're now 3 for 3 with Oscar winning performances, as the third figure in the set is Deirdre. She uses the Luke Skywalker hairpiece in white, and she has red glasses as well as a grumpy facial expression. She's wearing a yellow shirt as well as a tan sweater and some jewelry. She has gray pants, and finally she has a cast on her left hand. Next is Jobu Tupaki, the main villain of the movie, and it was pretty hard figuring out which outfit to base this figure off of, but I ended up going with the one that she was introduced in, because if LEGO did a set on this movie, I think this is the one that they would do. Anyway, she has pink hair and a confident smiling facial expression. Her outfit is mostly white with red, gold, and blue detailing, and her alternate facial expression is pretty irritated. The last figure in this set is Chad, the guy being piloted by Raikkonen. I started off with a pretty simple chef figure, but when I went to start working on the Raikkonen piece, I quickly ran into a pretty big problem. Mechabricks, the LEGO website that I use, doesn't have the official raccoon piece. So to get around this problem, I looked through a bunch of different animal pieces on Mechabricks, and eventually I settled on the squirrel piece. Then I made some custom raccoon prints to make the squirrel look a little less squirrely, and here we have it, Raikkonen. So after we take one last look at the completed figure, let's move on to the build. The build of the set is the IRS office where most of the film takes place, and you'll immediately notice the stairs right in the middle of the build where Jobu and Evelyn are fighting. Then on either side you can see that I've added some shelves and drawers with a bunch of miscellaneous office items, papers, and folders that can be launched with a simple lever play feature. Then on the inside of the first floor is a table full of food, including bagels, grapes, which is a reference to the universe where Evelyn is a bunch of grapes, and cream cheese, which, as Waymond said, no longer exists in the Alphaverse. You can also see that Waymond is holding the universe tracker. On the other side of the first floor is a small area where you can have Jobu and Evelyn battle, and as you can see, Jobu is holding a bottle of organic ketchup. Then on the upper level are some cubicles, and I also added the Everything Bagel black hole, and yeah, even if you haven't seen it yet, you've probably figured out by now that this movie is really weird. Anyway, moving on, let's take a look at the first cubicle, which is Deirdre's. It's filled with details, including a mug, a cookie, and a trophy. There's also a chair with Evelyn's bag on it, as well as the note that she used to remember how to verse jump. On the other side is a smaller cubicle with a computer, as well as a hot dog, which is obviously referencing the hot dog finger universe. There's also a small plant, a white trash can, as well as the security guard that got turned into a pig. So with the final details finished, here's the set all together, and here's the box art that I made for the set. Much like the Top Gun set from earlier, the set is also designed in the 18+ box art style, which makes even more sense this time because this set is actually based on a rated R movie. One last thing from the set is that I put a teaser for it on my Instagram about a week ago, so if you're interested in seeing more teasers for sets in the future, then make sure to go follow me. A quick announcement, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad Season 3 sets coming in the near future because Better Call Saul Season 6 is coming to Netflix in like 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's about all I have for you guys today. Have a great day and go build something awesome.